special meeting that started this afternoon at 4 p.m. here at City Hall. Mr. City Attorney?
Yes, Mayor and Council. The Council took action to appoint an ad hoc subcommittee comprised of Mayor Pro Tem Breeze and Councilmember Fig to work on addressing outstanding litigation matters with the Harbor District, and that's subject to the Harbor District also appointing a similar ad hoc committee to meet with the city's ad hoc committee to address these issues. And I also note that it was the council's expectation that the litigation that currently exists between the parties, that that would be stayed, a timeout, if you will, would be called for a reasonable period of time to allow the ad hoc committee of the city and the ad hoc committee of the Harbor District to carry on meaningful meetings.
Okay, thank you. So we end that meeting at this point, and now we open up the Port Wayne City Council meeting for January 12th, 2015. We will all rise for the flag salute, followed by the inspiration by Councilmember Jonathan Sharkey.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
William Allen White was a newspaper editor from Kansas in the first part of the last century. He was one of the original progressives, a great friend and supporter of Theodore Roosevelt. He was known as the Sage of Emporia. And with the events of these last few months and weeks, I thought perhaps a little bit of small-town Midwest wisdom would serve us all in good stead. And I do apologize for the lack of gender neutrality in Mr. White's comments. But he said, reason has never failed men. Only force and repression have made the wrecks in the world. Whoever tramples on the plea for justice temperately made in the name of peace only outrages peace and kills something fine in the heart of man which God put there when we got our manhood. Peace without justice is tyranny. Thank you. Please be seated.
Okay, may we have the roll call, please? Councilmember Fig.
Here.
Councilmember Hensley.
Here.
Councilmember Sharkey.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Breeze.
Here.
Mayor Schnall. Here. We have before us item number 4, the agenda.
Move to approve.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
No opposed? Okay, so motion carries. We move on to item number 5, consent agenda.
Move to approve. Second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None? Okay, so consent agenda is moved and approved, and then we now move on to item number 6 from the Deputy City Manager. Ms. Nichols?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, council members. In the staff report, I gave you a brief glimpse of the face of landscape, the landscape division, and how over a period of years it's changed. The staffing has changed. But in last year's strategic plan, the City Council passed goals that required the maintenance of infrastructure at a high level. And in response to that, the landscape staff, the landscape staff began working on an action plan. It was immediately known that the landscape division is understaffed to sustain the hours required for regular maintenance to achieve a reasonable service level. The 2008 landscape maintenance plan was used as the basis to determine that 11,662 is a deficit of hours required to provide basic ongoing maintenance. This equals approximately 6.5 full-time equivalents for an approximate cost of $312,000 in total compensation. It is highly expected that the cost of contracting out these hours will be much less. Furthermore, staff identified what locations and tasks made more operational and economical sense to keep internally and which to contract out. Factors considered were the expertise of our current staff, equipment replacement and repair costs, and the cost of specific tasks. For example, the cost to contract out median or maintenance in the medians may be more costly because it would require the expertise of lane closures. It also brings up other safety hazards. Staff met with representatives of SEIU Local 721 throughout this process and also worked closely with an employee representative of the Landscape Division during the formation of scope of services. Staff is requesting that City Council authorize the solicitation of bids for a landscape maintenance services contract for specific work to be conducted in the areas listed in the staff report. This authorization does not result in a fiscal impact. The result of the bid will be brought back to the City Council for award of contract and funding. For award of the contract. And funding for contract services was anticipated and approved in the current budget. And also I want to make a note that the amount that was budgeted in this current fiscal year anticipates the cost for contracting out services, but also anticipates the contract for smaller one-time projects. As you know, we've had a lot of deferred maintenance. We've been understaffed for several years. So there are a lot of areas throughout the city that need to be through a one-time project. And at one time, I don't mean one day, it could be a couple of weeks, it may be a few days. But we do need one-time projects in order to bring the site or location to a level of maintenance that then we can maintain regularly. So the number in the budget anticipates the cost of all that. So the recommendation again is for the City Council to authorize the solicitation for bids.
So I do have a speaker card here for item number 6. And we can call this gentleman up, Gordon Vaughn. You can come up and state your name, sir, and your address, and you have 3 minutes.
I'm Gordon Vaughn at 157 West Bay Boulevard in Wainini Bay. I'm happy to see that something like this will take place. I can't comment on the numbers since I have not seen your budget and the like of that. Last year, the governor enacted a moratorium to deal with the water problems in our drought. You followed suit on 2 occasions to enact water conservation measures. And I think that it seems to me it would be very appropriate for the city to set an example of what the city might do in the way of water conservation. Parks, obviously, the City Hall area, and of course the median strips throughout Port Hueneme. One of those median strips runs through, or 2 of them actually, through Hueneme Bay. One on Bay Boulevard east and west, and one on Lido Boulevard. We spent in Hueneme Bay $184,000 on water, for irrigation water, last year alone. We spent about $21,000 just watering the median strips that I'm talking about. And probably conservatively another $15,000 just to maintain mowing, repair to the irrigation items and so forth. We are compensated by the city $3,600 a year for that work, which is something we can't sustain. What I would suggest is a removal, or part of this project you're looking at, the removal of the turf and replanting it with drought-tolerant vegetation, which would benefit both the city and the residents of Wainini Bay. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. Are there any questions for staff?
If I might, Madam Mayor,
Yeah,
Gordon, does your association have a plan they'd like to see to convert that median?
Well, we have something found that's called a reserve study that is updated every 3 years.
I'm sorry, Gordon, could you get up to the microphone? I'm sorry.
We have a reserve study we do every 3 years for the major maintenance in Wainini Bay. Included in that is an amount to do something about the medians. Obviously, we wouldn't want to have to take this all on ourselves, but maybe in concert with the city, we could do a partnership with this. to make it move forward to the benefit of all of us.
Okay, so you don't have a physical plan in mind at this point, it's more conceptual?
It's a conceptual
I
thing, but
understand.
it wouldn't be hard to do that. We have an idea about what it might cost.
All right, thank
All right.
you.
Did you have anything for Ms. Nichols, Mr. Fig, or Councilmember Fig?
Yes, unrelated to the comments of Gordon here. I was curious, as I know that this is a budgeted item, but are we setting ourselves up for potentially a reoccurring expense? Since we're really backfilling a situation where there's a shortfall in manpower, is this something that's likely to continue well into the future?
Yes, that's dependent on the level of services that we want to keep, yes. Part of that funding is deferred maintenance, and those should be one-time expenses. But yes, the contracting out services, I am expecting the bid's they're going to be much less. And if we want to maintain a high level of services, it will be a recurring expense.
Thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Hensley.
Madam President. Madam President. Hello, are you here?
It's all the way to the, yeah, there you go.
Are we there? Oh,
Very
okay.
good, there you go.
Madam President, Mr. Bone,
Yes.
I think the situation kind of stands that whether the cart or the horse comes first, and what you're addressing is that we can't do much as a resident, I'm a resident of Hueneme Bay also, we can't do much unless we have the city's approval to take out those center medians.
That's correct.
Mr. Hensley, I think Mr. Bond has presented something here that is an idea, but I believe at this point here is that, you know, we're addressing our staff. If you have any questions for that, we don't necessarily or shouldn't debate here. But if there's any further information, Mr. Bond, that you want to present?
What Mr. Hensley is bringing up is the fact that there have been conversations in the past about doing something different with the medians. And we cannot do those without the approval of the city. Because the city, that is city property. Does that answer that?
Yes, sir, thank you.
It's our understanding that there are some side agreements that we have with the HOA, I believe, is that correct? And I think we've been looking at those, as part of our ongoing review of landscape issues, we have been in contact with the HOA. They've indicated essentially what Mr. Bone has, and my understanding is the staff is looking into that and what we can do.
Any further questions? Yes, Mayor Pro Tem.
Carmen, you mentioned that we're behind on our landscape maintenance. And I thought I heard you say something to the effect that you anticipate a higher expense now to bring the city back up to a maintainable condition. Then would you expect that for the cost in future years to decline, or do you think that the budgeted amount that's in this year's budget would be maintained?
I expect the cost that's in this year's budget to decrease in the future. That, this budget, this allocation includes one-time special projects. Once we get those done with regular maintenance and being able to sustain the amount of hours that it takes to maintain things regularly, I feel that that number is going to go down. However, that doesn't, there's a lot of other anticipated projects down the road. We talked about having some improvements at, for example, Hueneme Beach Park. The one-time projects I'm talking about do not include any of the deferred maintenance that's been happening that is at Hueneme Beach Park. That's a whole different animal. And that we'll have to put a lot more time and effort in determining what level of service or what time projects will be needed there. It also, this current budget has anticipated some responses to the water consumption. And we've been working on currently at Miranda Park, and we will soon start at Bubbling Springs Park, and then move on to Volker Park with changing irrigation and that response to the use of water and water consumption. So, and to answer your question, Doug, again, very briefly, is I do expect what was allocated this year to reduce for one-time projects that are not associated with bigger projects, such as at Hueneme Beach Park.
The other issue that gives me a little bit of concern is supervision over the contract services. Port Huenemi's landscaping has always been some of the finest that I've ever seen in a municipality. I mean, as soon as you leave the city boundaries, you know you've left Port Hueneme. And our landscaping appearance has declined each year over the past several years. But the reason that our landscaping looks so good, one of the major reasons is that it wasn't done in a cookie cutter fashion. In other words, attention was given to each and every plant and how it fit where it was, and there were some artistic parameters taking place from our landscape division. My concern is if we contract out landscape services, that they'll do cookie cutter, it'll look the same on Pleasant Valley Road as it does on Hueneme Road, and we lose the individuality of our landscaping. And do you have any comments along those lines, the quality of the landscape services that we'll receive?
Well, I'm really hoping and I'm expecting this plan to do a couple of things, and in answer to to that concern. When I was looking at this plan and identifying the expertise of our staff, we have really good staff on board, and they really excel at a lot of different things. But because we've been running behind, and because we've not been able to complete up all the tasks in a timely manner, keep operations, we have faced this deferred maintenance. But it's taking that staff and really encouraging them to do what they do well. So one of the things that I want to do differently that we haven't been able to do in many years is have each of the divisions. So if I have a team that's in charge of medians and pruning, they would also help in inspecting what the work of our contractor. So it's going to take our internal staff to advise our contractor, and it is written in the scope of services what we do expect, but to lead the contractor on what we need by using the expertise of our staff. So I realize that's a concern, but that's what's different with Port Hueneme is, and that's what I intend to do, is encourage the expertise that our staff have and lead the way, and really manage the contract closely. And use staff that wouldn't normally be the ones who would be managing a contract, but making sure that they also have a buy-in into what they're doing, making sure that they're also making recommendations, or if they find something, to make sure they're reporting it back so we can address it with the contractor.
Sounds good. Well, I have a lot of confidence in our landscape maintenance staff.
Thank you.
And the decline in the appearance of the city is not due to any negative connotations to staff. It's due to the lack of staff.
Absolutely, and as I said in the staff report, we have been meeting with SEIU locals and the employee representative who's been highly involved in this, and they're really excited because it's going to allow them to do the work that they've been wanting to do. And again, we took that higher level expertise work and kept that with our staff so that they can really show what they can do.
Thank you very much, and Madam Mayor, with that I would recommend make a motion of approval of item 6A of the staff's recommendation.
Yeah, I do have a question myself.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. Thank you, Ms. Nichols. So basically what we're saying is that there are some projects that we have that maybe even are ongoing that our own staff would do, and then there are other projects that we're actually listing as this RFP for a contract for someone else to do.
Right, there is regular maintenance in the contract that would be bid out, that's part of it. If we have other projects that we would want to schedule as extra work, that's part of the scope of services. But there are other projects that our own staff would be doing, And there are even other projects that either other agencies or other contractors may help us do, smaller projects. For example, one of the agreements that we've entered into is with the Ventura County Probation Services. Now, those type of projects are very limited in skill and effort, but there are things that can help us offset costs that they're able to then frees up our staff then to do the higher expertise work. So yes, it's a combination of trying different things in hopes of getting that high level of service.
And would this be a 1 year, we're looking at a 1 year contract?
It's a 15-month contract that I'm requesting. That will finish up this fiscal year and get us into the second. It is a short-term, in these type of services, it's a short-term contract. And the reason I'm requesting a short-term is to be able to adjust it, be able to see, first of all, that 2008 landscape report is from 2008. And so that'll give me the opportunity then within 15 months to be able to make some changes. Not that we couldn't do them with the change orders, because we can do that, but it gives a contractor at least a year's worth of work as well.
Okay, very good. All right, so Mayor Pro Tem,
Yeah,
I will re-entertain that.
yeah, I make a motion to approve item 6A per the staff's recommendation.
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion? Yes.
Madam President, other board members, I can see where this might be very beneficial. However, we have a permanent staff that, as we know, has been kind of decimated. And instead of contracting out, which somehow or another I kind of get a gut level feeling that we might be trying to find a way to get away from the unions a little bit more. The unions and our steady employees are very important to us. And I think we should increase our staff back up to accomplish this. A lot of times we give it to a contractor and that money goes outside of town. So I don't agree with it.
So if there isn't any further discussion, there is a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed.
Okay, so noted. Motion carries by majority or by majority? Yeah, 4-1. Okay, so thank you, Ms. Nichols. We move on to item number 7, Community Development and Housing Director, Public Works Director. So Mr. Tyson and Mr. Brown.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council. I'd like to give a quick update on progress of the work on the fishing pier, and then I will turn the presentation over to Mr. Brown for discussion of the sandbar castle. As everyone probably knows, the fishing pier work is complete now, and just as a quick summary, the fishing pier piles began to fail back in 2013 as we had a lot of erosion in the sand, and we found that the piles were being stressed by a combination of lack of sand, and in fact, later we discovered that there was a dual reason for a lack of sand coverage and some construction defects in certain parts of the pier. By the time we entered into a contract with Cushman Contracting Corporation, we had experienced 6 failed piles. When they started work, they discovered an additional 6 piles that had failed as sand began to continue to erode and expose more piles. So before they left the job, 12 failed piles had been discovered. And to address those failures in various regions of the pier, 46 new piles were driven. The pier at this point is stronger than it was before we began. So we have a lot of additional piles out there, and we believe at this point we are in better shape than we were when the first pile failed back in 2013. The final contract amount is $696,059.74. And with that in mind, I hope that the public is able to enjoy the pier for a long time to come. And now I'll turn it over to Greg Brown, Community Development and Housing Director, for an update on the sandbar castle.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Just 3 things to update you on really quickly. First, as we had previously discussed, we anticipate rescinding the declaration of emergency before your next council meeting. The city manager can accomplish that and then report back to you. That's primarily because, as Chris reported, the pier is finished, and most of the beach has been placed, and so that our shoreline infrastructure is protected from the winter storms that we anticipated. So that's good news. Secondly, Manson will be finishing this week the sand replenishment. So they will have moved 2,366,162 cubic yards of sand under contract. Remember, 200,000 cubic yards is going to Silver Strand, so they'll be finishing up this week at Wanini. They'll move down to Silver Strand, deposit that 200,000, then they'll demob at both locations the first week of February. That's their schedule as long as the weather holds. And then lastly, I'm finalizing all the long-term permits with the resource agencies we had to deal with, the Regional Water Quality Control Board, the Army Corps of Engineers, and the Coastal Commission's permit. We're really close to getting a permanent permit issued. As part of that work, we've got to get granted to do some finalizing work. We need to push the sand over the rock along the backside of the wall, now that that's been completed and inspected. We need to rework the last 200 lineal feet. That's near the terminus of Ventura Road, and that's where we had to drop rock for the Hurricane Marie threat at the scarp face, and that now is sticking above the finished surface of the beach. We need to rework that and bury that. And then lastly, we want to fill some voids that are at the access pads, rework some of the cobblestone and the fabric, and provide a safe path over those access pads to the beach. We expect to get that done before March 1st, the environmental window that starts March 1st. We should have some cost quotes. We anticipate we'll be able to do the work under the monies that the council's already appropriated.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions for staff? Yes, Councilmember Sharkey.
The additional appropriation of the Defense Authorization Act, do we know more about that?
Oh, yes, we do. So we had thought that there was an additional $5.2 million that was going to be, that was appropriated. We heard that from our lobbyist under the omnibus bill in the 2015 budget. Turns out that that's not the case. That's actually funding that is applied to the current project at $12 million. So there is no new additional funding for additional sand. That is to complete this project.
So that's basically an offset for out of the 12 million.
Right. It wasn't fully funded. So they brought that together. So that's paying for the 2.2 that they moved. It's not additional funding.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry to report.
Thanks for the clarification. Any other questions here for staff? You have one? Okay. Mayor Pro Tem, please.
First off, Chris, thank you and congratulations for such a fine job that was done on the repair of the pier.
Thank you.
I was here when the pier had a T on it. There was a T out at the end. We lost that. So I understand the difficulties of working on a pier, and you've done an outstanding job. Thank you very much. Thank your staff also, please.
Yes, sir.
Greg, what's the, how are we sitting, if you know, for our next cycle of sand replenishment? Is there any, do you have any feel for 2 years from now?
Somewhat. I have had one discussion with an Army Corps official who, at this point, they're budgeting to move 1.8 million cubic yards.
1.8?
1.8 million. It's very early in that process.
Right.
Don't hold me to that number for that.
And our normal biannual is 2.5?
Well, under the WRDA, we have a target amount of 2.5 million is our sand.
So they're already talking about shorting us again. Yeah.
It's as we get Congress to fund the Corps. The Corps can only move what they are authorized
Right.
to fund. Yes, that's the challenge. We will be, we are represented well with CJ Lake, and we're anticipating that they will give us an audience before the LA office of the Corps to re-educate that office on our priority claim on federal funding, because so long as the Navy owns the structures that cause the problem, we should be a priority.
And then where are we with the letter of understanding or MOU or whatever the process is regarding the 200,000 cubic yards to go to Silver Strand? It's my understanding that the Army Corps of Engineers agreed that if we had a reduction, that their reduction would correspond percentage-wise, and I asked that understanding be memorialized in a MOU or letter or something. Have we followed up with that?
What we've done is, we were going to document any additional correspondence with Dr. McCor with regard to that. We have in fact a letter from David Van Dorp, the highest ranking civilian member of the Corps in the LA office, and that's the letter you referred to, which is a pretty good document in and of itself for us to get that in writing. At this point, since we had that discussion, there haven't been any additional correspondence received or discussion that we could document at this point. But we're mindful of your request, and if anything else transpires, we'll be able to document it.
Was the Ms. Krieger at the Harbor District, was she CC'd on that letter?
She was.
And, okay, I think it's important that everyone involved, including the Navy, sing from the same sheet of music, so we don't continually have this argument every cycle over who gets what sand. And I would ask that maybe, Madam City Manager, if a copy of that letter with a cover letter and asking that they've received it and understand it, and if they have any questions or issues, or some kind of formal meeting of the minds that we can point at later, in case there's an issue later, something we can point at that we know that everyone's seen and agreed to, so we don't end up with an argument. I would appreciate that. And Mr. Brown, you mentioned about ready to get a permanent permit. What were you referring to?
So we have an interim permanent permit. There's conditions that we have to satisfy to get the formal permanent permit from the Coastal Commission. And that involves a variety of things. And one is we have to post educational signage along the beach that describes that essentially the beach is artificial. It's wholly dependent on the Corps of Engineers sand replenishment, and some language about sea level rise and other things that the Coastal Commission wishes to see. But once we satisfy those additional conditions, they consider it a permanent permit. It's a 25-year permit to allow us to keep the rock in place. At the end of 25 years, we need to revisit that.
Outstanding. Good job on that. Appreciate it. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
Yes, Madam Mayor,
Yes,
at the
Councilman
last
Figg.
council meeting, I suggested that now that we're putting this adventure behind us or near a close, that we really need to be forward-thinking, and I understand from Councilman Sharkey that there'll be a visit here from our Washington contact, and I think it would be appropriate at that time that we can talk about a process that we can put in place to monitor beach profiles, to make sure that whatever sand has been authorized, in fact, has been delivered. And there's also an issue regarding how the sand is dredged. Depending on the nature of the dredging process itself, you might end up losing a lot of the sand that otherwise would be received on the beach. So there's a number of those kinds of issues that I think that would be worthy of discussion as we move into the next stage of this adventure. I'm not sure if there's a date certain on that, but I've understood it might be the end of this month.
Well, we did talk with Linda Kess. She's with CJ Lake, and I believe she's coming out on a visit with the RDP 21 group. So we pretty much said we would make some group of you, or maybe individuals if we had to do it that way, or have her come speak at a council meeting, and she would work with our schedules to some extent, or we would try to work around her time that she'll be here in the next few months. It sounded like she may be here a couple of times.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, Mr. Brown and Mr. Tyson, this has been a long journey, and we've gotten to the first stage of celebration, and that is to reopen the pier. The second part of the celebration here is that We're almost at the level of really celebrating for our sand replenishment, but it is a good place now versus where it was about a year and a half to 2 years ago. Thank you so much for your dedication and commitment, for maybe even sleepless nights, but for always thinking ahead and forward and wanting the best for our community, to uphold then the quality of life that we have here for our residents and to get us back our beach. I know the surfers thank you. I thank you because it looks beautiful, and so well done team. Thank you. Okay, so with that, is there a motion on item number 7?
Move to staff recommendation.
Is there a second? Second. There is a second. All those in favor? Opposed? All right, so motion on item number 7 is a majority, so we move forward on that. And then item number 8, City Council. And this is, there's 2 items here under 8. Administrative policy, use of city council chambers and council conference room. And so with that, do you want me to refer to Councilmember Sharkey, or do you want to present this, city manager?
I'll just preference at your meeting, I believe might have been prior, I think it was in early November or late October. Councilmember Sharkey, you had requested that we bring back our council policy on use of chambers for your review, so we've included that here in the agenda packet, and are awaiting any direction the council may collectively give to us.
Okay, thank you, Madam Mayor and City Manager. My purpose in looking at this is as we go forward and as we've been discussing with the potential charges against anticipated revenues that we're looking at, this might behoove us to look in general at our rate schedule for use of city facilities, and the council chamber is one of those facilities that is occasionally used by other agencies and other people. Right now there is no actual rate for renting. There is obviously charges involved. You refer to item 2N under in the enclosed staff report, where it talks about custodial personnel. Obviously there's electricity, HVAC, things like that. So it does cost the taxpayers money to have this room open, and that goes for city functions. That's part of the business, I guess. Our old friend Dick Velthan, when I first came on the council, reminded me it takes about $1,500 to run a council meeting. That was 20 years ago. My concern, and I wanted to have this as part of actually a bigger discussion of all the city facilities and what our rate schedule is for use, and including the council chambers as part of that, and just coming up with some figure that allows us for cost recovery. And so that would be my request to the council. This be brought to staff to look at the overall rate schedule. Will be brought back to the council for action. I guess that's probably the way to do it.
Okay, are there any questions for Councilmember Sharkey or any comments? Councilmember Fay?
Yes, Madam Mayor, just that I think that our sister agencies that periodically make use of our facilities should not be charged. I can understand it if our facilities are used by other than governmental entities. I think we have always had a history of reciprocating. Hueneme School District is one as an example that uses these chambers on a regular basis for their meetings. I would suggest that we give consideration to governmental agencies in that rate study. My preference would be a no charge.
What do you mean by reciprocal? Can I ask you that? So if we give them something, we expect something back?
Not at all. It's kind of like police services. There is a mutual aid understanding between agencies, so that if there is a problem in our community, then an adjoining community will aid in that issue. And there's no charge for that arrangement. So I'm not suggesting that we have a quid pro quo where if you use our chambers, then you have to make your chambers available.
Madam Mayor, let me just say that that may be a discussion to take up at the time we actually set rates or set policies, or it may be done on an ad hoc basis. But right now, there's no rate at all for any of this rule. And we do limit who can use it, but we have rates for other city facilities, and I think we ought to have. I think we ought to look at them. It's probably high time we looked at them. And this should be included as one of the facilities that gets used by outside agencies, and whether we want to charge any particular agency or not, that could be, council always has the discretion to suspend charges. We've done it for other buildings as well.
So I'm hearing that it would be to refer this back to the city manager and staff to take a look at some information.
Typically, we would do any kind of a fee schedule update as part of the annual budget. So we can go and look at what other agencies do and look at what we do and bring back some recommendations. Probably the most appropriate time would be with the upcoming budget.
Okay. So does this need to be moved in that fashion, or do we
We'll
just refer?
we can include that in our, looking at our regular fee schedule.
Okay.
Is that all right?
Okay, so is a motion required, or,
Yeah,
or
that's-
is that just the staff direction?
I move to approve.
Second.
Okay. All those, yes.
Is this predicated on waiting for the staff?
Pardon?
Is this, Madam Chair, is this predicated
Yes,
on waiting for the
we're
staff?
moving it back to
Okay,
staff for more
I'll go along with it.
information.
Go ahead, that's what I'm trying to,
Okay.
Yeah, what you're voting on is to give me direction to move forward with a new initiative.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, so we'll refer that back to city staff. And then item number B, council committee schedule for 2015. So we'll have something up on the overhead here for everyone to take a look at, and on your screens in front of you. So every year, about this time, we take a look at city council committee schedule. And there are different boards that your city representatives here serve on. Anything from those that meet maybe once a year, to those that meet more frequently, every 2 months, to then those that meet on an ongoing monthly basis. And these appointments are made for 1 year, not necessarily calendar year, but 1 year. And just wanted to let everybody know that this is above and beyond what city council meetings are. Some of these commissions and boards do pay a stipend, if that's small, but many of them, our members here serve without a stipend. And so many of them have extra committees that you serve on. You might serve not only on the board, but the executive committee and other ad hoc committees to boot. And there are those that are up now because we've had a change in city council members. So where you see the names Green and Griffaw, of course they're no longer on this council, so we'll have to replace them. But most importantly, I believe that when we do have members that have served on these committees for some time, that they really tend to be the go-to people that have established some knowledge base, not only with the issues of that board, but also then providing information back to this governing board, as well as city staff. And also too, that many times when we serve on these boards year after year, it means that we have a leadership role in them. I myself sit on the executive committee. I am an officer of the board of directors of the Economic Development Collaborative of Ventura County. Before that, I had served 6 years with VICITA, which is the other board that does things on the economic development side. So therefore, you end up having quite a bit of knowledge and expertise in a certain area. And sometimes it just comes because that's the area of expertise that you do have when you walk out these doors and you are a public citizen in the community. And so a lot of times then our members do have some background, whether it be consultants or in their former careers, with that specialty area. And then certainly others are just, more of for information only, and then they would end up being, maybe those that meet much more infrequently than on a monthly basis. So, I also then want to let you know that even if you do not serve as the appointee or the alternate, you're always welcome to attend the meetings because they are recognized as public meetings. You can always attend for information. Alternate can always attend as well, although if you're not an alternate, then you're not necessarily on the board, but you could still attend those meetings and get information that way too. So with that, we can move into on an alphabetized basis, and I don't know if anybody else has anything else to share at this point in terms of having it be more general information. Okay, so with that, we'll move into the Animal Services Commission. Currently, it's Councilmember Sharkey as the board appointee and alternate Breeze.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
I've had the pleasure to serve on Animal Services for the last couple of years. As you may have noticed, as covered in the paper, we were very successful in achieving official no-kill status for the animal shelter in Camarillo. And I have to confess, I was one of the board members who was extremely skeptical we would ever get there. There's a new executive director and good direction, good effort working with local nonprofits on that. I would be willing to have somebody else do that. I'm looking to cut back a little bit on some of my workload. So if anybody else is interested, they meet roughly quarterly, 9 a.m. second Thursdays in Camarillo.
Okay. And Mayor Pro Tem Breeze, you're the alternate right now on that?
I am the alternate. I too am very proud of the work we've done to obtain a no-kill status in that animal shelter. It's taken a lot of hard work from county staff over there, but I too am willing to pass that on if any other council members are interested.
Is anyone else interested in serving on that board? Councilmember Fig?
Yes, given the success of our two existing members, I would recommend that we retain them.
Thank you.
Hey! That's item number E, right? Those that are on can actually stay. Well, what would you like to do?
I'll be happy to do it if nobody else wants it, sure.
Okay. And Mayor
Same
Pro
thing,
Tem Breeze?
absolutely.
Same thing? Okay, so the reappointment then for Councilmember Sharkey as the board appointee and alternate board member, Mayor Pro Tem Breeze. All right. Moving on to the next one, Beach Erosion Authority for Clean Oceans and Nourishment, or also known as Beacon.
Madam Mayor, again, this is the Beach Erosion Authority deals with coastal issues from Point Conception to Point Magoo. One of the things they did is actually a beach profile study, and there's a number of initiatives that we've attempted over the years. Some of them have been more or less successful. I, along with the late Naomi Schwartz and Brian Brennan, actually pulled this organization back from the brink of total dissolution a few years ago. And I'd be very interested in staying on and continuing the work there. And for an alternate, if he's willing to do that, I think Mr. Fig would be an excellent choice.
If there's any other interest here.
Oh, by the
Yes.
way, Beacon meets 6 times a year, usually second or sometimes third Fridays, 9 a.m. in Carpinteria. And the meetings are fairly long, actually.
They're long, couple of hours?
They can be, about 3 hours.
3 hours. Okay. Are there any other takers on this besides the nomination for for Councilmember Fig. All right, Mayor Pro Tem Breeze, do you have anything to say on this? No? Okay, all right. Would you kindly serve on this for us, Councilmember Fig? No, this is a responsibility.
I'd be pleased to, thank you.
Super, thanks. All right, it's a good group. Okay, moving on through California Joint Powers and Insurance Authority. That's a group that meets the third Wednesday in July at 7 p.m. It's just one board meeting a year. And I am the appointee. I'd like to stay on that. And an alternate, we need to replace Ellis Crane on that. So is there anyone else that wants to be an alternate? That would mean that you can attend the board meetings if I don't, but usually I attend those
And how often
meetings.
is that one?
And how often? Once a year.
Once a year. And they serve excellent dinner, but it's down in La Habra or someplace?
La Palma.
La Palma.
It takes 3 hours to get there, an hour and a half to come back. 5 freeways, the transitions are horrible, but you know, we all
I
go through.
never even knew where La Palma was.
Over by Cerritos, Lawndale, and that area there, 91, 605, somewhere around there on those freeways.
Well, if nobody wants to do the alternate, I'll put me down as the alternate.
Okay, super.
I make no promises.
Okay, very good. Moving on through. Let's see, where are we here? City Port Standing Committee, and do we happen to, can we just refer back to the announcement that we had coming out of closed session here? Mr. Attorney?
That's actually
That's a separate
Separate,
group, right?
right.
Okay, all right. So, this is as needed, 4 p.m. as needed. Alternate meetings are here at the city and at the Oxnard Harbor District office. The group here was Mayor Pro Tem Breeze, Councilmember Griffall served, and alternate was Councilmember Green. So we need 2 board members and then 1 alternate. Mayor Pro Tem Breeze, what would you?
Yes,
What would you like to do?
being that Councilmember Fig and I are serving on the ad hoc committee, I think it's a good segue that he and I both serve on the standing committee. I would recommend Councilmember Fig and myself for the City Court Standing Committee.
Would that be okay with you?
That'd be
Tom?
fine with me, then it makes it easy, then Jim can be the alternate.
I'll accept the alternate position.
Okay. No discussion? Okay, all right, great. So let's see. EDCVC continues to meet monthly on the 3rd Thursday of the month at 4 p.m. We meet at the Hampton Inn. And one of those meetings is an annual meeting that actually comes up this week on the 15th, starting at a little earlier than that. No, it's at 4 o'clock, that's right. But the executive committee continues. Being that I'm on the executive committee, I would continue to want to serve as the board appointee, and I would need an alternate, because we need to replace Ellis Crane. So is there someone who'd like to serve as the alternate? You're rarely called, because I normally attend all those meetings.
Madam Mayor, somehow my name came up on that list, and I'll be glad to serve as your alternate.
Okay, perfect. All right, thank you. All right, Gold Coast Transit.
Yes, Madam Mayor, as I'm looking to cut back a little bit on my workload, I think Mr. Breeze would be an excellent choice for this position. And if you're interested in being an alternate, I would be happy to be the alternate, but if somebody else wants that, then I'll step aside. But I do recommend Mr. Breeze for Gold Coast.
I would like to be the alternate on that too. I actually served as the board member a couple of years ago and had to recuse myself because of some other things going on during that time.
This is, if I may, Madam Mayor, this is an interesting time for Gold Coast. Of course, we transitioned from being a JPA to being a district, and I was involved with those negotiations with East County and with Assemblyman Williams, and managed to pull that off in some manner. Gold Coast is in the process right now of building a new transportation center up by the Oxnard Auto Mall. It's a very exciting time to be on that board.
Very good. All right. So,
Yes,
Mayor Pro Tem?
Madam Mayor, I've served as the alternate for Gold Coast for a number of years, and I've always desired to serve as a full board member, and this is exciting times. Councilmember Sharkey has spent many years of dedicated services to helping the Gold Coast Transit, especially these past few years through their transition through the district, and I'd be honored to serve as the city's representation on Gold Coast.
Great. So if there's no other discussion, then that would be Mayor Pro Tem Bree serving as the board member, and I would serve as the alternate.
Madam Mayor, if I might, as we consider these appointments, the new guys on the block, you might want to consider bringing them on board so that they can proceed with this education process, so that at some point in time they can be full members. So whether Mr. Hensley, who's expressed an interest, is appointed in this case, perhaps in your subsequent decisions here, you might consider that it's appropriate, I think, to bring along new people so there is some, institutional knowledge that can be passed along.
I value that input. I would just rather just be that alternate than on Gold Coast. There's a couple of other. We're only halfway through the list here.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
let me say that serving as alternate is important. Showing up for meetings, just for information, is important. My first 2 years on this council, I don't believe I had any positions, but I was an alternate, and that helped me get into the swing of things when Mr. Carpenter left, and I assumed some of his positions. So, I mean, that point is definitely well taken.
Okay.
Madam Mayor, I'll
Yes.
acquiesce for another position.
All right. So let's see, we moved through the Point Mugu Regional Airport Authority. That's an annual meeting, but somehow it's, sometimes it gets suspended. Not so sure when the last time was that we met. It's coordinated out of the city of Oxnard. And usually those meetings are in the summer. Sometime like a Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday, late afternoon at the city in July. Maybe it's because it's in July that it's kind of moved around, but yes.
I think that has to do with the fiscal year. Madam Mayor, the history of the Regional Airport Authority it goes back to the base realignment closure in 1995, when there was some discussion about the future of the Mugu airstrip, and the feeling at the time was that it would be in a stronger position were it a joint civilian-military use facility. That's not going to happen, and its chances of any kind of joint use are very, very slim indeed. I along with Tony Volante, were the city's original folks on that. Frank Schillo, our old supervisor, is the one that started this. And people question the value of maintaining this. And the reason there's an annual meeting is just to keep it alive. And I believe there is a value to keeping this alive. In that the future's uncertain, and it's a lot easier to bring something like this out of mothballs than it would be to spin up a whole new organization. If we look at what happened in El Toro, for example, when the folks there were not prepared, I think we missed a tremendous opportunity for use of a great facility. And so I'm one of the few advocates for this group around the county, and I don't know if anybody else was particularly interested in being the member, but when I talked to the clerk this afternoon, I guess nobody had said anything, and I said, well, I'll be happy to do it. If the mayor would like to take that position, that's fine with me.
Madam Mayor?
Yes, Mayor Pro Tem.
I would like to just make a side note that whoever serves on the RDP 21 would be a good candidate to also serve on the Point Mugu Regional Authority, just for synergism, just for compatibility. Just a comment.
All right, so noted.
Just a fair comment.
Yeah.
You know, there again, there's just a legally required organizational meeting, and whether there's any action on this is another question.
Okay. So being that I was the alternate, I could be the board representative or the representative there, and I would just need an alternate
I'll be
then.
the alternate.
Okay. Okay, next we have the Port Hueneme Water Agency, and so that's quarterly on the third Monday. It precedes then the pre-agenda session and city council meeting located, the meeting here located at City Hall at 5:45. And right now we have Mayor Pro Tem Breeze. We have to replace both other board members. I'm the alternate on that.
Madam Mayor.
Yes.
Yeah, the Port Hueneme Water Agency is a very successful project that the city put in 20 years ago or so. I served as the Public Works Director for the city at the time, was very involved in the formation of that JPA. Recently, with the California's drought entering its multiple year status, the local groundwater agency and Metropolitan Water District and the Governor of California are all instituting significant water cutbacks, which means that the cost of water is going to go up. It's been going up and it's going to continue to go up. And with my background, working with the current Public Works Director, Mr. Thyssen, we're currently in the middle of searching for ways to try and mitigate these potentially exorbitant water cost increases. We're thinking out of the box. We've got a number of programs that we're pursuing and investigating, and I would hate to not be involved in the Port Hueneme Water Agency at this time. I think it would be the best course of action if I continue to serve on the PHWA. So I'd like to stay on that board if I could.
Okay. So then we would need 2 other board members there. Any interest?
Mr.
I
Hinsey.
think my name is on there already, is it not, Madam?
It is, yeah, it is, and that you'd
That
like to
means I
serve.
want, yes.
That you'd like to, uh-huh.
I'd be happy to serve with Mr. Hinsey.
Okay. Yes,
A fourth,
I need a third.
a third, okay.
Well,
I'll be
an
glad
alternate,
to,
an alternate.
It's on there.
an alternate?
I'm the alternate there.
Okay, however you want to fill out the slate, if
Oh,
you'd
I'm
like
sorry.
to have me on.
Are there three?
There's, it looks like, oh, you know what? It looks like there's 2 board members? No, 3 board members,
Three board
1
members.
alternate.
You need one regular board member.
Yeah, so I need one more.
Unless you want to go up to the board.
No, I think I would like to stay as an alternate there, so, Councilmember Fig, you want to take that on?
That'd be great.
It's very important roles here for the team. Very good, okay. So we move on down to Regional Defense Partnership for the 21st Century, RDP 21, which actually came out of BRAC, 1995.
Madam Mayor, this is another I should say, another spawn of the BRAC process in '95. The meetings on, the general meetings on this are first Tuesdays at 7:30 a.m. or 7 a.m. actually, no, 7:30 a.m. That time of the morning I get confused. 7:30 a.m. over at the Government Center of Ventura. They're open to everybody. Anybody who wants to come should come. The official delegate from each agency, we represent many of the cities in the county around, are represented, as well as folks from the private sector. The official delegates are eligible for the strategic committee on which I serve. We're presently involved in planning our annual lobbying trip. Which is a very technical effort. involving military appropriations mostly. And it's a very, very, very steep learning curve. I've been asked by the co-chair to stay on, and I would be certainly very interested in maintaining my membership on the RDP 21.
Okay. And with that, then I know I've been the alternate there. I've attended maybe just a small amount of meetings there. You are a very regular attendee. Councilmember Sharkey will come back and always let us know what's going on, especially with that important DC trip coming up. Yes, Councilmember Hensley.
I'm kind of a person that's on it from being asked to join a few months ago by the board, and I know that Director or Councilmember Sharkey has a hard time getting there sometimes, and I'm very interested in being a retired military man. But also, I think Tom Figg would be a very good person to serve on that also. I can still attend it through the port facilities, but I would like to suggest Figg be considered too.
So
Madam Mayor, just a minute. Hard time getting there. I've missed 3 meetings in 5 years.
I have a question for Mr.
I
Hensley.
do too. You want to go? Go ahead.
You're attending this meeting through the port facilities?
Yes, sir.
As what status?
As a member of, or at the invitation of the Port of Hueneme.
For the Harbor District?
For the Harbor District.
Are you receiving compensation?
No, sir.
to do that?
No. I'm used to getting up early, and I'm a military guy, and they're military people.
Mr. City Attorney, if Councilmember Figg would want to serve, he can't serve in 2 capacities on a board, correct? Hensley, I mean.
Well, not in 2 capacities. I'm not certain whether he's saying that he attends or whether he actually serves.
It sounded like he served on the board, or he
Pardon?
serves.
Said he serves at the behest of the Oxnard Harbor District.
Yes. I'm not on the board of it, but I attend to every meeting.
Oh, okay. I thought I had misunderstood. I thought that he had attended as a board member. Okay, so anyways, I'd like to be the alternate. I was key accounts consultant for BRAC 2005, which is the last one that happened, and very closely aligned with the businesses that were part of RDP 21, military as well. So.
Yeah, I support the mayor serving on the RDP 21.
Okay. All right, so without further discussion then, it will be Councilmember Sharkey as the board representative, and I will be the alternate then. Moving on down to Ventura Council of Governments, VCOG. Meets quarterly. We used to meet monthly, and it used to be run by Darren Kettle out of Transportation Commission. Now it's run by Laura Bejan, who is the former city manager for Simi Valley, and it meets at City Hall quarterly. And so I believe our next meeting is coming up here later on this month. There's an annual meeting as well. I serve as the board member. I'd like to continue serving as the board member, and then alternate Mayor Pro Tem Breeze. That's okay?
If anyone has the interest of serving as the alternate, I'd be happy to relinquish that.
Okay, nobody wants to do it. I was.
Take it, John?
I'll do it. Yeah.
You've already done one term on there, right?
I beat my head against that wall for several years, and I still have, I think the skull is pretty thick here, so.
You know, some of the really interesting issues that we've taken a look at from a regional perspective is the issue about all the massage parlors that have cropped up in some of our other East County cities like Simi and Thousand Oaks. No lie, it's been really a massive change of events in the last few years. And so that's one of the items that we've taken a look at in most recent months. And then there is, what do they call it? It's like the mountain lions are crossing the freeway, and you know what? They're not being successful at it. And it's over in the east end of the county, so it's on the other side of Caneo Valley. And so they're trying to establish these wildlife corridors and crossing areas for poor animals, because, you know, competing with a tank coming down the freeway at a fast pace, they can't compete. So those are some of the other issues that we're looking at.
Roseanne White goes on that, what is this?
No.
Oh, I think you said that the mudland is always her issue.
But anyway, so
Yeah,
great, thank you.
And also, I've had some casual discussions with Carl Morehouse from Ventura, who's still the president of the Southern California Association of Governments, and he's looking to do his big campaign for his whole career has been to think more regionally, get people to think more regionally, and he has some plans for doing more stuff on a regional basis, and I look forward to working with him as well. So,
Yeah.
The way VCOG is constructed in this county is different than any other place in California, and it has its limitations, but it also has its uses.
We actually even deal with the housing and the shortages and the numbers, the element that comes down, the housing numbers that come down to each of the counties, and then it did get redistributed to each of the cities in order for all that to happen. That comes through this group here. So great, thank you. Thanks for joining me back on this. Ventura County Transportation Commission, VCTC, monthly,
Yeah.
first Friday.
Yeah, Madam Mayor, it's been my honor to serve on the commission. It took me 15 years to get on there, actually. Ventura County faces some real issues in transportation. We're not a self-help county, which means we do not have a dedicated sales tax to transportation issues. That really limits the kinds of things we can do. This goes hand in hand with Gold Coast, and I think Mr. Breeze would be an excellent choice in addition to that board.
I agree with Councilmember Sharkey, especially with Gold Coast Transit now becoming a district. The Ventura County Transportation Commission, there needs to be some synergy between the two groups, and I'd like to help achieve that.
Okay, so any discussions here?
Yes, Madam Mayor. Actually, for the next two
Councilmember Fig.
appointments, my recommendation would be Councilman Hensley, for the very reasons that I spoke to earlier. Councilman Sharkey has now had a number of appointments here this evening, and I think it's time that we cultivate some new leadership, and I would certainly recommend Mr. Hensley for both of those positions.
I appreciate Mr. Figg's offer, and I would concur with it. I would acquiesce to Mr. Breeze and the VCTC if I could have the position on the Ventura Regional Sanitation District.
Where's that? Oh, okay. Well, I would like to see Mayor Pro Tem Breeze be on the VCTC board instead of Councilmember Sharkey. So,
Thank you.
yeah, so with that,
Is there an alternate?
There is no
alternate.
it
Okay.
would just be the board appointee.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, okay. And then moving on through to Ventura County Regional Sanitation District monthly. There's 2 meetings, first and third Thursday. We do, yes?
I'd be happy to give up my alternate position to Mr. Hensley. That's a good way to learn the details and issues associated with the Regional Sanitation District.
Yeah, Madam Mayor, I think this is a highly technical appointment. I served 2 years as an alternate behind Mr. Carpenter before I moved up to this. We're involved with such issues as siloxane removal from landfill gas for microturbine generators. We're involved with permitting and operation of the solid waste landfill. I'm also on the committee that's negotiating with the Malibu Bay Club over the rates for the on-site wastewater treatment facility we operate down there. Be interested in staying
Tough
on
to be
this.
effective step in that
It would be,
position.
it's very difficult. As a matter of fact, some of you know Al Fox, who from Camp Rosa, who was the Special Districts Association of Ventura County has a seat on the VRSD board, and for many years it was Jim Acosta from Saticoy, and the Special Districts Association decided they wanted to rotate on a yearly basis. And Mr. Fox just had his last meeting last month, and his comment was, the one thing I would really criticize here is that this rotation thing doesn't work. I've been here a whole year, and I'm only just now beginning to understand this operation. It's time for me to really take off. So it does take time to learn. There's been some significant changes on the board in the last 2 years. Mr. Hensley wants to serve as the alternate. Mr. Breeze, you don't want to serve as the alternate. I do recommend that because there's a lot to learn here.
Okay. Yes, Councilmember Hensley.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I appreciate the offer, but seeing how some of these others have been squeezed apart, I don't want to take away anybody's glory, so I'll go to that. Thank you very much.
So right now, we're looking at Councilmember Sharkey as the board representative, and what I heard was Councilmember Hensley is the alternate. You declining? Okay. Okay.
In that case, Madam Mayor, Mr. Breeze, if he's got the time to do it, with his background in public works and understanding of solid waste, he's been a really valuable alternate to me on this board, and I encourage him to remain this.
Well, I take Mr. Figg's comments to heart. I wish that Mr. Hensley would reconsider taking the alternate position on the RSD.
Madam
Yes, Councilmember
Mayor,
Figg.
I disagree. I appreciate your comments, Mr. Breeze. I think it should be the opposite. I think Mr. Hensley should be the appointed member, and whether yourself or Mr. Sharkey be the alternate. Again, we have to start the learning process. And if I do my math, I think Mr. Sharkey's done pretty well in the appointments that did provide for compensation. And I think it would be fair in having that opportunity spread across the board. So my recommendation would be Mr. Hensley for the appointment, and Mr. Sharkey if he wishes to be the alternate.
No, I just want to make a comment here that I don't necessarily think any one of us here looks at it from the standpoint of collecting a fee to attend a meeting. The vast majority of these meetings do not have anything. As a matter of fact, if you're on the board and the executive committee, you have another meeting to go to every month. But we do it out of joy. We do it out of being in the know and collecting a knowledge base, but also too focusing in on what could help not only the city but on a regional perspective. So I just wanted to make that comment there. So it sounds like if Mr. Hensley wants to pass on that alternate role, you still do?
I pass on the alternate role. I get involved in a lot of other things for free too, so it's cool. I'll be on the board for a while.
And what was that?
I'd be happy to serve as the alternate.
Okay. So we would have then board representative John Sharkey, Councilmember Sharkey, and then alternate Councilmember Breeze. And do we need a motion at all to pass this slate, or we just move? We just move on to the next item?
So I've always done it.
Very good. All right. So we are now at item number 9, council member reports and comments. And the lights will turn back up and the screen will go away, I think. All right, so are there any comments from any yes, Councilmember Sharkey?
Yesterday, some of you may have seen this in the local paper. There was a paddle out for Butch Towers, who was a local businessman. He ran the handicap surf shop. Apparently a great surfboard shaper. I never experienced any of the sports myself. There were about 200 people there. And, I have to say that was a great send-off. That kind of paddle out ranks right up there with a New Orleans funeral in my book. It was a very moving, a great experience. People think of Port Hueneme as a Navy town. It is a Navy town. They think of it as a port town. It's a port town. They think of it as a beach town. It certainly is a beach town. It's all of those things, and it's people like Butch Towers that are part of the fabric of this community that make it what it is. And I would ask that this evening's meeting be adjourned in the memory of Butch Towers, and that the minutes be forwarded to his family.
You know, I was, if I could make my comments here, I was also going to adjourn in someone's honor. All right, very, very good. Yes, they do, don't they? Just in recognition of a really good friend of mine, but also somebody who loved the community and loved our kids and loved our library system, and that is author Michelle Serros, who unfortunately passed away at a very early age at 48, about a week ago. And she was a good friend of mine. We talked about career things and professional things and personal things, but most importantly, we talked about being authors and writers and contributing to this generation and the next, and the next, and the next, in terms of good stories, in terms of laughter and fun. And she was a local. She went to my alma mater, Santa Clara High School. She was a local girl, born and raised in Oxnard, raised through El Rio, attended UCLA, was recognized as a writer on the George Lopez Show for the first year, just did some really super things, contributed ongoing with NPR and Fox Latino and so many other places for writing and for just communicating out to the community. So she also was a volunteer for, not last year, but the year prior's Friends of the Ray Pruder Library Tea. And she really enjoyed being a volunteer for the library and really always wanted to contribute back to this community. So I would like to then adjourn as well, this meeting in her honor, and send the notes to her husband, who was left behind. That's Antonio Magana. Thanks. Any other council member reports? All right, so we move on now then to item number 10, open forum. Anyone wishing to speak to the council on any matter not on the agenda may do so at this time. And I do have some speaker cards here, and so I'll call them in order. I will call up Tracy Sisson with the representing the American Cancer Society. Tracy, if you could state your name and residence.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and City Council. Tracy Sisson, pardon me, I'm going back to my maiden name and apparently can't remember it. Representing the Port Hueneme Relay for Life as the event lead and also lead area volunteer for the Tri-Counties area. The American Cancer Society has been very grateful to the city for their continued support of our event since its inception in 2009. And this evening we would like to present the city with a plaque for their silver sponsorship for the 2014 year. The partnership that we have with the city and allowing us to do our annual Bark for Life in Bubbling Springs Park. We're now going to be in our third year, and we're looking forward to continuing that partnership and also finding a cure for a disease that takes way too much from way too many, way too often in life. So thank you again to the City Council for their support, to the staff that helps with many things, Carmen, Ron, Greg, thank you so much for all that you do to help us.
Thank you. Do you want me to?
I don't know.
Or do you want?
I will. You know what? We'll just do this. Okay. This one.
That's really nice, thank you.
And Tracy, do you want to stay up? Because I do have another speaker card for you, but this time Hueneme Chamber.
Let me just change my hat. Tracy Sisson, CEO of the Hueneme Chamber of Commerce. Well, Happy New Year, City Council.
Happy New Year.
And what a way to start 2015 with an amazing ribbon cutting. Hats off from the Chamber to the city for working so diligently to staff and everybody at all levels to help ensure that our beach is back and our community can move forward in the spirit of growth. A few things coming up in the Chamber world. On the 28th, we have our next Wake Up Hueneme Education Breakfast, where we will be featuring Dr. Gabe Sumakian of the Oxnard Union High School District and his presentation on the Alliance for Linked Learning. Following that, in February, will be our annual State of the Navy address on February 18th. I do want to take an opportunity to give an additional shout out to our Landscape Maintenance Division. The agenda item that was presented earlier definitely represents the need to to continue those efforts. And I will say it's the one thing that we hear consistently is how you do notice a difference as you drive into the city of Port Hueneme. And to that end, the Chamber has been working with the city, and on January 24th, we're going to be having a volunteer cleanup day in the Bubbling Springs Creek, thanks to volunteers from Naval Base Ventura County. And again, thank you to Ron and Carmen for your efforts in helping to coordinate that. Big news out of the Chamber is our 75th anniversary dinner and community awards night on February 27th. We hope everybody will be there. We'll be recognizing Citizen of the Year, Business Person of the Year, as well as many other educators, Police Officer of the Year, Firefighter of the Year, etc. Coming down the road, we are excited to be sitting down again with city staff and discussing bringing back the Sunset Supper, which we hope to be having that return in April, and that is our food truck event, the only food truck event at the beach in Ventura County. We're very proud to be able to say that. Also, Ventura County Leadership Academy is going well. I actually have my installments of fun this Friday, where we were doing ag and water, so lots of challenging issues there. And then also on the horizon for the Chamber, we'll be participating in both the Oxnard Harbor District and City of Port Hueneme strategic planning meetings that are coming up in January and February respectively. One of the other issues or opportunities that our community has relates to the Ventura County Lodging Association. I do believe, Madam Mayor, you have a follow-on card for Marissa Vanderwick from the Holiday Inn Express and Rebecca Evans from the Ventura County Lodging Association. So I would like to ask for them to join me at this time as my seconds wind down and their seconds can start. The Hueneme Chamber of Commerce has already spoken with city manager and other city staff about our community joining the Ventura County Lodging Association and the benefits to our community. So with that, I would like to go ahead and turn it over to Marissa from the Holiday Inn Express.
Okay. So I do have speaker cards then for Marissa as well as Rebecca on the same issue. So you can share the podium there. You have 3 minutes.
Do I need to describe them what the program is about?
Yes, say your name and your representative.
Marissa Vanderwick, Director of Sales at the Holiday Inn Express here in Port Hueneme. And yeah, I'd like to tell you about the Ventura County Lodging Association. It's something that was formed 4 years ago. What the local hotels, currently it's Camarillo, Ventura, and Oxnard, are assessing it'll be a 2% assessment to the guest rate. And that money will be used for marketing for the county. And so we have been included this year. The city of Port Hueneme, they would like to invite us, and it's actually already been approved by their board for the city to be a part of that. And my general manager, myself, Rebecca, and Tracy have met with 2 other hoteliers in Port Hueneme, and they supported the assessment also. And so we're very excited about it. It's going to be great to be a part of a big group and help bring tourism to the city.
So when you talk about it benefits the city, it really is a hotel-based fee, and so there's nothing that comes to the city or the city collects, but that's collected based on the fees that you then generate for hotel stays, correct?
Correct. And what is unique to this committee that other ones don't have is that 20% of it will go to the city, and it will be used for events that that will bring hotel lodging, that will bring room nights to the area.
City manager, do you want to clarify that? Because I know the city gets transported here, and I know it's not for the city, but
So I've actually done 3 T-bids in my past, but this one's a little bit different than most T-bids in that I'm not 100% certain that the city has the same administrative role that we would normally have in a T-bid that was initiated from within our jurisdiction. I believe that VCLA is intending to work with staff to come back to you on February 2nd with a plan and a series of kind of a schedule of what actions the city would need to take. When we met with them earlier, this apparently T-bid works slightly different in that I believe City of Ventura is the lead agency on it. And so most of the things that, as I understand it, most of the things that Port Hueneme would do if this were our T-bed actually are done through the Ventura City Council. So it's really just the hotels that are voluntarily wishing to join this self-assessment. The monies go to VCLA, and then as they said, those monies generated from Port Hueneme, 20% of those monies would be administered by VCLA for
marketing
events
opportunities.
events that we would, or some group would go to them and basically look for grant funding out of that pool. Did I get that right?
Yes, you clarified that better, thank you.
Are you done with your
I am,
presentation?
yes.
Okay, so we have a question then, Mayor Pro Tem Breeze?
Well, let me,
Go. Oh, yes.
let me.
Rebecca, you have something?
My name's Rebecca Evans. I'm the Executive Director for Ventura County Lodging Association. Our branding is called Ventura County West, and I brought you a pile of goodies, and in that is written paperwork, but a USB that you can stick in your computers and find the commercials and radio and anything and everything about Ventura County West that might excite you. The thing with working with the Ventura County West Lodging Association is that we have $1.5 million that we spend in marketing. And we have been doing this for 4 years for Camarillo, Oxnard, and Ventura. So all the money, it's about 97%, goes right back into marketing this area. There's so many opportunities, and you are right on the edge of it, so we wanted to make sure that as we come forward, we're actually asking for a 10-year renewal and a 2% renewal on the TBID, which is an assessment. And that money, the city usually handles a 1% administration fee to handle that 20%, which comes back, and then this group from the local area, the hoteliers, and Tracy would be the extra part of that, would come up with ideas on how to market that 20%. So that's just an extra bonus. And there is no other TBID in the entire country that does that. So we're really excited about that because it goes back to the local marketing. So there's a lot of things that we have in place to do to support you, but we want to bring you on, and it does have, steps that we have to take it back to the Ventura City Council to get approval, but we had approval from our VCLA board to bring you in.
Yeah, just while we are planning on coming back or asking staff to bring this forward on the February 2nd agenda, I do want to just quickly add that the chamber did look at what it would cost for the chamber to do a TBID, and the amount of money that we would be looking at collecting based on our available rooms doesn't give us enough money to do what we can leverage by becoming part of VCLA because of the regional perspective, because of that, the 80% that really does market the West County area. Okay. So it's a dovetail and a wave that we can continue to ride.
So it sounds like it's coming back on a report February 2nd for us?
Yes, and in that report, it will do a thorough job of explaining what the benefits are, talking about the leverage and the steps, and what this city council would need to do if you wish to proceed.
Do you still have a comment, Mayor Pro Tem?
I do.
Okay.
So there could be a possibility that seeing as how the city of Port Hueneme has its beach back and it has its pier back, and this summer we're going to party, and maybe this might be a funding method that could possibly sponsor an antique car show down at the beach or something like that?
As I understand, the money is still reserved for events that look to put heads in beds.
Correct.
So, if it were a 2-day car show, then most definitely we could
Thank
consider
you very
that.
much.
But it leaves room for maybe even discussion on Hueneme Beach Festival.
Yeah.
The city has funded a lot of that,
Right,
or
so-
all of that. And
So the dollars that then become available once it's been collected, 20% of that we do as a collective, the hoteliers and the chamber, the advisory seat that I will have, will be able to direct the spending of those money for advertising associated with heads and beds.
But that is a bonus on
Bonus.
top of the
Bonus on top.
$1.5 million that is spent that will have your name attached to it. So our hoteliers, we go all over the country bringing people into the area. So so.
Great.
Very good. I remember when this was just a dream.
Yes.
Many years ago, when I was with a state-known agency that did a welcome center in the area, and it was where the hotelier said we have to do something more. And so they went through, and that was, gosh, 8 years ago. So I applaud you to even get to this point. It's a massive undertaking. Congratulations, and we'll hear more about it February 2nd. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you for your time.
So next on is Gordon Bain. I think I pronounced it correctly. Bon? Bon. Okay, thank you. You have 3 minutes, sir.
Yeah, this will be very brief. Madam Mayor and council members, about 2.5 months ago, I mentioned in here that we were trying in Hueneme Bay to have a wireless internet connection going through our tower. Those of you who were there for the candidate forum know where I'm talking about. Our board approved that last Thursday. We expect to have that in place possibly as early as the end of February. And I understand there's interest on the part of the city in terms of moving in that same direction to have wireless internet throughout the city. We're interested because it's going to be quite a savings for many of the people who live where we do in terms of having high-speed, low-cost internet without all of the problems that there's been. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I have a question.
Yes. Mayor Pro Tem Breeze.
Mr. Bone, who pays for that?
Well, the residents pay for just as if you would apply to for your DSL from Verizon or on a subscription basis, or if you would have it with AT&T or Verizon Fios, it's paid for that way.
Paid for what way?
But each homeowner has a subscription for the service.
Okay.
Okay?
I thought it was a free wireless.
No, it's not free. But the advantage is it's a lot cleaner and less prone to problems in terms of clarity and speed.
I understand. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, sir. Next on open forum, Paul Durand. Be here.
I would defer to our homeowners president.
Ed Hess, okay. So if you come to the podium, state your name and where you reside, and you have 3 minutes.
Okay. Madam Mayor, City Council members, my name is Ed Hesse. I'm the president of the HOA at Harbor Links. And I want to briefly thank the City Council and in particular the Port Hueneme PD for all the help that they've given us. We've had some problems with a house where a lot of drugs being sold and the corresponding traffic coming in and out of the community. And they've made 2 high-profile arrests, one a burglar and the other one at the drug house itself. And on behalf of the entire HOA, I want to say thank you, and we look forward to working with you more on that. So,
Thank you, sir.
thank you.
Let's see, next is Thomas Cliff.
Madam Mayor, City Council, thank you. My name is Thomas Cliff. I reside in Harbor Lights at 432 Reedway. We have had a continuing problem over there. Port Hueneme PD has attempted to do things about it, and I would specifically like to recognize our beat officer, Officer Lopez, and the officer I met today, Senior Officer Bates. It's at their suggestion that we're bringing this issue to the City Council, in that Harbor Lights community has a very, very nice community. We have a very low crime rate inside the community. We have a very respectful community. It's one individual unit on Reed Way which is creating problems for us. And apparently there is some question within the Port Hueneme Police Department about where enforcement should be. And it's my belief that by taking care, because of the fact that we do not have a widespread problem like some other neighborhoods do, by taking care of this immediate problem, we can prevent that problem from spreading. So it's, like I said, my primary concern is addressing and thanking Officer Lopez for his efforts and Officer Bates for his efforts, and hoping the city council can continue to support our efforts in the community to address this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Next is Stephanie House.
I am Stephanie House, and I live in the Harbor Lights homeowners. Madam Mayor, council members, city manager, and the staff. This has been an ongoing problem, and it's continuing to get worse. 4 individuals were taken into custody at this residence just today. It's also my understanding that they have actually expanded beyond just drug sales to actually installing a marijuana growing facility in that residence. So the sooner we can get it stopped, the better. And it's dependent upon the city council to help support us. The police department has been wonderful in keeping us informed, responding to the difficulties. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And then next, but not least, George Lustig.
I'll defer to the comments of my other community members as to not beat the dead horse.
Okay. Okay. All right. So with that, we adjourn to the regular meeting.
I'm sorry, Madam Mayor.
Yes.
If I might.
Councilmember
Tracy made mention of something that I think, I'm hoping we can take it up tonight, that the Oxnard Harbor District is starting a strategic planning process. I think we all received invitations. I think it behoove the city council to have a representative present at that meeting, and the mayor would be the logical appointee for that purpose. Given the announcement that the city attorney made earlier about our putting our best foot forward and hoping that we can bring about a resolution of ongoing disputes through our newly constituted settlement committee, I think it would be that much more appropriate for the city to, again, make itself available to participate in that process. So I'm hoping we don't have to actually agendize this for another time. But
Madam Mayor, may I speak to it?
Yes.
If the mayor doesn't have time to attend, being that Councilmember Fig and I are both serve on the Port City.
This ad hoc group and the standing board.
Perhaps he and I should be the ones that would better serve to attend that.
that would be fine with me.
Okay, very good. All right, so we adjourn this meeting to the regular meeting to be held February 2nd, 2015 at 6:30, preceded by the pre-agenda session at 6:15 in Council Room Chambers. We now move on to Port Hueneme Surplus Property Authority.